Hey,
Yeah.
Papa Ron, what's happening?
Oh, my brother, good. Run with it. You're live on air.
Hey, all right. I like to be live. Hey, we have a real good guest again. We've been with him before, and I tell you, I'm so impressed with this guy. I learned so much about how to read these charts and stuff. It's Mr. Node Investor. Man, he's quite a guy. He knows all about this stuff. He can teach me tons.
Yeah, I do pick up stuff every time he's on.
I
Mr.
do.
Nodi, are you on live with us now? Are you on?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here.
Hey,
Thanks for
Happy to
coming.
join you guys again. It's a pleasure.
it's a
Well,
pleasure for us too.
and I hate to put you on the spot.
No, you don't.
Mr. Node, I want you to tell us a couple things, and I didn't preview this with you. One is I want you to tell about your newsletter and how to get involved with that. And about a couple weeks ago, I heard that you have a class presentation type thing about reading charts. So
Yeah.
fill us in.
Great. So at my homepage, nodeinvestor.com, you can sign up for the newsletter there. It's free. And, I try to get a newsletter out once a week with some thoughts and commentary on the market, also some charts. But if there's a breakout or anything like that, I'll post something out real quick, and kind of an easier way for me to communicate with you guys, because it's not always as quick to do a video, as you know.
Yeah.
And so that's on the homepage. If you go to nodeinvestor.com/training, that's where you can look at the courses. I have two of them, actually. I have a cryptocurrency 101 course.
Well, hold on. Okay, I got it on there now. Keep going.
Okay, great. Yeah, so on my homepage there, you can see nodeinvestor.com training. There's two courses, Cryptocurrency 101. That's for anyone looking to get started. And I just kind of walk you through what a Bitcoin wallet is, how they work, where to get them, how to use exchanges like Shapeshift, Changelly, Poloniex, all that stuff. And, it's just kind of a good intro, about 2.5 hours worth of video content there. And then for the folks interested in technical analysis and a little bit more about what I talk about in my charts and all that, I have a course for that. And it's basically going over patterns that I look at, some key technical indicators like moving averages and Fibonacci ratios and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good primer for getting started with technical analysis.
Very cool. Now, do you only take that filthy fiat, or do you take any kind of Bitcoin?
I added Bitcoin payment recently to the website, and so you can do that, or credit card. If you want to pay with PayPal or a different type of crypto, LiteCoin, whatever, I can do that too, but we'll have to just coordinate, shoot me an email, and I've done that for several people. I have no problem.
Very cool. Thank you. What do you think of that, Rod?
I think that's really cool. That is awesome. All the training we can get, the better off we are.
Very neat. Listen, here's what I think I'd like to do tonight. Not that it's all in my decision, but since I have the buttons at my control, we asked Mr. Node to come on with us tonight. We wanted to go over. I first want to start with the two big dogs, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Get a real quick highlight on those and what's going on, and then I've kind of referenced some of the not so popular coins, but yet people know about them, and just have you do some analysis for us, and we'll kind of see what's going on with them.
Let's do it.
Okay, you're up.
Okay, so just taking a quick look at the markets in general, anyone who's been watching my videos, following me, knows I've been talking about this downtrend we're in. The broader, longer-term downtrend, meaning, the one that started in June and it's been going, is still in place. We have not broken that upper downtrend resistance yet. But if you can see here, I pointed this out actually yesterday in an article I posted on my website, and I talked about Bitcoin and Ethereum and whether this could be the bottom. And here on the chart, you can see we've hit this support level 3 times now, and it's held. And so that is a positive sign. And that also happens to correlate with the key Fibonacci ratio. I don't want to get too technical right now, but that's another positive indicator that supports holding. And then RSI levels are also holding right above 40. So on the daily chart, Bitcoin looks like, it could bounce here. I've talked about we're oversold temporarily, so I expected a bounce. It looks like we're seeing that today. There's just kind of green across the board. And,
Yeah.
so the level I'd like to see is, we really need to break this downtrend. So as long as these support levels hold, we'll probably just bounce around and the next test is going to be to see if we can get above this 2,500 range or so. If we can get above that, that's a great sign. But, time will tell. Right now, we're in this descending triangle, which typically is a bearish pattern following a big drop. It's kind of just going to bounce around, and then at the apex, typically they'll break, right? So if that happens, we could go down to 2,100, and below that, maybe 1,800. So who knows? I'm not projecting that now. I'm just saying those are the next levels if we break where we're at now. But for now, I think we're due for a little bit of bouncing here, so we could see some more upside action over the next couple of days. So that's it on Bitcoin. Let's look at Ethereum here. And so I talked to Ethereum in that newsletter or in that article yesterday as well. And so same thing here. Now Ethereum had been weaker, still hasn't broken the downtrend either, but certainly was due for a bounce. And we saw a pretty healthy bounce today. We were down in the sub 200 area there last couple of days, just briefly, and now we're back up to about 220. Again, the level here that I want to see taken out is this 240 area. That'll be the first big positive sign. But bottoms they don't form in a day, so it wouldn't be surprising to see us kind of go up here and then maybe come back a little bit, test it, and then put a little bit more of a double bottom before we head up another rally. So that's what I'm looking for. I think Ethereum's probably done here on the downside. But if this level doesn't hold, it'll see a big drop down to the 140 or 151 area. But I think Ethereum's pretty good here.
Wow. Yeah, if it gets down there, I think I'm looking at maybe putting a little more in my wallet.
If it gets down there, that's going to be a fabulous buying opportunity, in my opinion. Long term, I think Ethereum's going to stick around. It's going to be a leader. There's a lot of tokens and a lot of projects that are being based on Ethereum, and I just see long-term demand for it.
Cool. Hey, Rod, before I turn you loose, I'm going to start off with a couple coins with Mr. Node, and then we can get over to kind of your pick and picks and stuff. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Mr. Node, I want to start with we've had a lot of call for this Chaincoin.
Yeah.
I've got some oddballs that I'm going to throw out there, but just kind of, and I know we've been in the downhill and now everything's kind of turning up, but let's look at a few of these charts if you don't mind. Chaincoin.
Sure. And so let me see, that's, what is that, CNC or something like that?
Oh, I didn't put the abbreviations.
Let me see, I think it is CHC maybe?
Boy, that looks pretty downhill if it is.
No, that's not it. Yeah, so Chaincoin is one of the newer ones. I've looked at the project a little bit, and on their website they mentioned Dash and how they came out around the same time when similar hash algorithm and all that. CHC is a symbol.
You got it.
And I'm not too familiar with it beyond just kind of what they've recently announced. So here's the chart. I believe I have the right symbol now. And it's, right now it's one of these ICOs that's really been working. I mean, it's just really pumping right now. Here's the chart here, super strong, just crazy action in chain right now. I think a lot of these right now are running with the sentiment of the market here, just kind of turning up a little bit. But this one is super strong. I mean, I think it's a little bit extended here. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a pullback before if it continues to run up more, though. So if you like it, right now it's kind of put this little cup pattern in. Looks like it's almost going parabolic here. So I'd probably wait on this one and wait for a little bit of a pullback. One thing I like to trade off of if I'm trading is, see this blue line? This is the 10 EMA average on the 4-hour chart, and that typically tends to be a little bit of a low point when it touches, especially when they're running this fast. So look for it to either flag out here or just pull back a little bit, and when it touches this blue line, might not be a bad area to look at it if you're interested in it. With a lot of these newer ones and these real kind of high flyers, I don't tend to hold these more as longer term investments as much as I do just trades. You know, kind of just taking the momentum, writing it up to a certain profit target point, and then, you know, putting a stop in place. And if it gets below that, I just kind of get out of the way, because these tend to come down as fast as they go up.
Yeah, you just want to capitalize on, like you said, the momentum of it. Now, does your course talk about these stops and how to place them and all?
It talks about support and resistance levels, and moving averages. So that's what I look at as stops, right? So, you know, in this example, if I'm holding it now, for example, personally, if I'm holding it now, I might just be taking profit on this. But if you didn't want to, what I would look at is look for a pullback here. So if it started to, let's say it started to pull back this way, this blue line would probably be my first stop. If you really wanted a real deep stop, this purple line would be the next level. Other than that, horizontal support is another area I look at. So that'd be this level going across, but that's pretty far down from where we're at now. So I probably wouldn't let profits get too far away. I mean, that horizontal level is all the way down to 60% from where we're at.
Wow.
That'd be a deep drop.
Yes, you would.
You know, so I wouldn't let it go that far personally. If I was holding this right now, I'd give it to the moving average, and even then, that's going to be, you know, down 15-20%.
Okay, thanks. Let's flip over to ARK.
ARK. Let's see here. That is ARK, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let me zoom out a little bit and kind of pull up some of the daily. So again, a younger one, and it's kind of had this multiple, like, you know, this little cup pattern with a big rise, and then another little cup pattern with a big rise. We've since been pulling back through the month of June, just like everything else. And, you know, it looks like we hit a little bit of a low point here. It's not as strong as some of the others on the bounce here. But so if we zoom in on the 4-hour chart, you know, here's the 4-hour chart. This is basically the last 2 days action down here at the right. Right now, what we're doing is we're bouncing right into what is now resistance. So one thing that happens is, see how it hit this blue line multiple times? That was a floor. And so that was support. And what tends to happen is when we break that, it tends to become an area of resistance. So once we start to bounce into that, you tend to see sellers show up there. And you can see this big red bar on the crazy drop we had sliced right through that, and people were selling. Anyone who hasn't sold yet might start looking to sell as we start getting into this little zone here. So you might see a little bit bouncing around there. I'd personally wait until we cross this area before maybe looking at a buy on this one.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
I can see that.
Rod, what do you got going?
You know, we get a lot of questions on our channel about gaming coins, and especially like round and one called game credits. Maybe we could look at some of those and kind of compare them, see what you think would be the best one to get into.
Sure. You know, and as far as the gaming coins go, there's quite a few of them starting to show up, but I believe it's a huge market potential.
We do too.
Just with, you know, esports and game tokens and, you know, just kind of reward systems and all that. I think there's going to be a winner there ultimately, right? There's going to be a game token that starts to take the lead there. I'm not sure what that is yet, but I am looking at a couple of them. Like one of them is First Blood. You know, they're doing a lot of development right now, and they're trying to set up that you know, that platform really where people can get rewards from some of the games. And so let's look at that one first here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so First Blood, again, it's, you know, it's recently started trading on Bittrex, so it's not that old as far as the part time goes. It only goes back to June. But, you know, if you look at it, we had this big spike here in mid-June, and tons of volume came in. So you saw some initial interest there, and then it's kind of just pulled in. And right now we're basically trading right where it started trading at on Bittrex. So you can see, you know, we're basically at the same level as when it first came out. And so not a bad area to actually look at it if you're a believer in, you know, some of these platforms. You know, here at the lows, you saw a lot of volume coming in. And then with the pullback recently that we had on the big sell-off the last couple of days, it didn't even break that low. So it's actually showing some pretty decent relative strength right now. We put in this multiple bottom here. So not a bad one to look at here. These are lower volume names, so they don't trade as much, so it's a little bit easier to move around. That's why you tend to see these big spikes, right? If you have a big buyer coming in, it just pops the price. I mean, look at this is a 4-hour bar, and it went up 140%. Let's see here. Right now, it's about 41,000 Satoshi on coin market cap. That's coming in at where are we? This one's coming in at 97 cents.
Okay.
So if we look at the chart here on this one, let's see what it's been, right? It's been as high as 250 or so. And so it's taking quite the hit here, but it looks like we put in a good double bottom. It's one that's on my short list. I'm not holding any right now, so I'm not pumping it or anything, but it's definitely one I'm watching because with a few others, like you mentioned, Game and some of those other ones, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
So let's look at the other one here. Game, I think it's called Game Credits.
Yeah, Game Credits.
So if we zoom out a little bit, and again, you get these weird looking bars here because of the volume, right? It doesn't trade as much volume as some of the big names, and so the price moves aren't as smooth. So you kind of have to take a little bit of a step back. But I mean, look at how strong this one's been. Just crazy strong, and especially in light of the selling we saw. This one didn't even break the moving averages. All the moving averages are still pointing up. I mean, the 10-period moving average didn't break the next one down. I mean, so this is about as strong as I've seen here.
With the downturn we've had, you mean?
Yeah, especially when you compare it to some of the other names. I mean, it's pretty rare to see a chart like this right now. I mean, if you go back and you can probably count on one hand how many tokens are trading higher than they were in early June, right? Or mid-June, and this one is one of those. So this one's looking pretty good. I'm sorry, that's GAM. Here's Game. So Game did break support here. So we're looking at GAM, guys. Sorry about that.
What's GAM?
Let's look that one up.
What's GAM? Yeah. What is a GAM?
Oh, that was Gambit.
Gambit.
Yeah.
So it is another game one.
But it's relatively new, though, right?
Yep, a lot of those are. So here's Game Credits. I apologize for that. So,
okay.
So right here with this one's real interesting because we're basically right at see this old base that we broke out of here. And again, we tend to see this, right? So this was the last area of consolidation before we had to break a little bit of a breakout. And I've seen this pattern show up a lot recently with some of these other names that were, high flyers. You see it in Chaincoin, you see it in Waves, you see it in Stratus, and they're kind of going back to some big base we put in the May timeframe. And right now, that's where they're consolidating. And so you're seeing that one on here. Still a little bit in a downtrend. Again, not as strong today as some of the other names. So,
and Mr. No, look at that last one that Rod mentioned. What's this? Round.
Round.
ROUND. I think it's RND. And I know there hasn't been much hype about it or anything.
Let's see here. I'm checking the ticker here just to make sure. And it looks like it trades under round, like spelled out.
No.
Let me see. They got a USD price here, so yeah, this one's pretty new too. Looks like it's only on one exchange, or at least as far as I can tell. So yeah, this one, on the dailies, it's still on the downtrend here, not really bouncing a whole lot, especially considering some of the others. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Yeah, it doesn't look. I mean, right now this one's pretty weak looking still. It hasn't shown much of a bounce since we've bottomed here.
Okay.
But again, it's right at this support level, right? So it might be hard to see here, but you can see where it's going back to this level from early May timeframe.
So I would wait to buy anything from that until it probably starts bouncing up, right?
Yeah, so what I would look at, so I mean, as far as the downside goes, this is probably it, I mean, who knows, but it's hitting this multiple support level. So the downside risk is probably limited, but as far as moving to the upside, it might just sit around here. What I'd be looking for is a break of this downtrend that it's in right here.
Yeah.
And if you can see this breaking, and it looks like it's getting close. So if you can see it popping above this line and the moving average is turning, might be heading north again. But, we're looking like we're holding the support level. So probably not too bad right here.
Appreciate this.
Okay.
Hey, and I'm conscientious of your time, but let me throw a few more out there.
Sure.
One is Metal, METAL.
Yeah, that's a newer one, right?
Yeah, but I think it's got a little bit of history on it, so we can hopefully have something to look at. Well, maybe it doesn't.
I believe it just started trading on Bittrex here not too long ago. Let me see if it's doesn't look like it's on the other exchanges yet. So we've got only a few days of trading on this one, and I've seen this one pumping too. I mean, it's been moving up fast. So right now the trend is definitely up. It's been up pretty huge lately. I was looking at this project too. They've got a couple good names on there, the folks on the project and all that. But the space they're in is very competitive, right? They're just trying to be the next digital cash, and banking system and a lot of that. And I think there's definitely a market for that, but it's just super competitive, right? There's just a lot of currencies that are trying to take that role. And so, it's going to be interesting to see. They tend to offer user rewards and some incentives for people using the platform.
I'm kind of with you. There's so many out there that are trying to be a daily currency. I just kind of shy away from them. There's just too much competition.
Yeah, there really is. And until we see some broader adoption, it's going to be hard to say who's going to be the winner there. And there's some good ones that are far ahead that have already been in development for a long time. So, it's, the newcomers have an uphill battle. But that being said, the chart, it's definitely momentum is moving up, right? We've hit a little bit of a peak here right now. It's just been super high flyer these last couple of days. So, maybe for a trade, right? If you're looking at it, again, just kind of watching this upper trend, if you start to hit some of these moving averages, looks like we're basing out here a little bit. So short term, right, if we put this little bit of an ascending triangle wedge pattern and it starts to break above the old highs, right, that might be an area to look at it.
Okay.
Again, this would probably be more of a trade for me as opposed to an actual longer term investment. Yeah.
Hey, I want to get back to a couple of these older ones that we haven't heard from lately. One is Bitecoin, BYTE coin.
Yeah.
And we also haven't heard much lately about Digibyte. I wanted to kind of get an update on that too.
So let's look at Digibyte first. That one had a pretty brutal sell-off here even before this correction started. Let's see if we're done yet. But so here's the sell-off, right? And
lots of red.
And I actually talked about Digibyte in one of my videos back here when it was forming this little cup and handle. It was a nice pattern technically. As far as the project goes, I wasn't sold on it. It was a little bit hype-ish. But the pattern was nice and it did work out nicely, and it blew up here pretty quick, but then kind of corrected, hit this little bit of a double top. And after that, it was just kind of all downhill from there, right? So I hit this little double top, and once it broke down from that, it's just kind of been selling off since then. Hasn't really been a whole lot to do with Digibyte. So I'm not sure if the bottom's in. It looked like the bottom was in down here when it hit this support level, and that didn't hold. And so
but even
right
if the
now,
bottom gets in, it doesn't mean that it's actually going to go up again much. I mean,
that's right. It might just sit around for a little. Yeah, it really has. Personally, I'd wait on this one and let it set up a new base. I mean, this might be the low, right? Because this low right now corresponds with the low that we saw in that old base, right? So you're seeing this here. So if it breaks above this, that might be it. But as far as upward momentum goes and some of the price action, I'm looking at other things before I look at Digibyte, just because there's just stronger ones out there right now.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
and we're getting a little lengthy. How about Bitecoin?
Bitecoin. What's the symbol on that one?
I don't know.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can
Rod,
find
that's
it.
your job. The
BYT.
BCN.
BCN. It's BCN.
Oh, thanks, Rod. Appreciate your help there, buddy. We got it rolling now, folks.
That's all right.
Doesn't look like we're seeing a whole lot of Litecoin here. Let me see on this one.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'm not. You know, it's just the volume. Some of these charts get kind of funky with the way they plot the volume. Here's
Still
one.
a lot of sell-offs, though, doesn't it?
All right, let's move on.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was going to take a look at the chart here. I personally am not in Litecoin or haven't been trading it, so I couldn't really tell you a whole lot about it as far as the project and all that goes. I mean, it's having a huge day today, but you know, it tends to have these big pops and then just has been in this broader downtrend.
Right.
But you know, put in a little bit of a double bottom here and is up pretty huge today. So you know, who knows? I mean,
But
they
everything
just have
looks like it's up today.
Yeah, as expected. You know, we were just so oversold, and I was waiting for a pretty decent bounce here.
Yeah. Now, Ron, I don't know if you had another one or two, but
now I want to ask a question.
okay.
Sure.
On the cryptocurrency market cap, there's a place that talks about volume. You know, when
Yeah.
you said, I think the last time we were talking, you kind of look at the volume part.
I really do.
Huh?
I really do for two things. One, I like volume for liquidity. So if something's only trading a couple $100,000 a day, I tend to just stay away from it.
Yeah.
You know, I wait till there's typically close to $1 million on the trade volume or higher, right? I mean, you know, look at the big ones, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum have been trading very huge volume today. You know, they're over $1 billion each. You know, LiteCoin, 300 million. So those are huge. But you know, even if you look at some of the smaller names, right? Waves, right? 1.8 million. You know, Golem's trading 5 million. So that's just nice liquidity. Now, as far as the actual charts go, I look at the volume bars on some of the extremes because it tells you if we hit a bit of a low or even a top, right? So, for example, during the sell-off, look how big the volume was, and price just stopped moving after a while. And so these little tails on the candles, is just extreme selling and then buyers stepping in to push the price back up. You saw it back here, right? These long tails corresponding with the big volume, and that typically signifies at least a temporary low or a turning point. And it works the same on the upside, right? When you see this long bar at the top of a candle with huge volume, that's all sellers, and typically that's a short-term top.
What if it has a long tail on a short green one?
Well, like Digibyte, for example. You know, if we looked at Digibyte here, let's go back to this one. So you can see where it had these big, I call them wicks, right? The candlestick had this big wick at the top. That's all sellers, right? As the price was going up, people were just selling into that, and the price couldn't hold that level. And then it happened again here a couple of days later with these longer wicks. And so that's typically a telltale sign that, see how all these wicks are right at the top of this pattern? That's all sellers right in here. And so you see it here too. Now, when you see these little tails, that's typically buyers showing up. So I look at that and I correlate volume with it just because it's an important indicator. I mean, price action and volume are very important as far as my trading goes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that's great info. Rod, Mr. Node, I think we're going to end it. We've been on a little longer than I wanted to, but
hey, no problem. I love doing this.
This is great.
Me too.
Appreciate
It's such an honor to have you with us.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, my pleasure.